Hey again, everyone, and welcome to the Voice of College Football. This was going to be a video exclusively about just some observations I had early in bowl season and some recommendations and suggestions on how to make a bowl season more meaningful for all of us. But before I get to that, I wanted to address a few things on social media. Beware out there. It is a disgusting and disturbing place. I am beyond annoyed, irritated, pissed off, sick of the people out there on social media who want to categorize, who want to tear down, who want to damage reputations unjustly. There are certainly people out there who should have their reputations damaged based on actual deplorable actions. We have enough of those people in society already. Let's not take and twist people's words to damage their reputations, because that is very dangerous. There are people out there on social media. We have some of them at times comment to this channel at times, but you guys are amazing. So it's very little here, but out on social media that will take words by myself and others and will twist them around to severely and name call a number of names that you can imagine in this day and age that automatically tag you as something, as being against a certain portion of the population. Think you can follow along there. And it's potentially extremely damaging and harmful. And I am beyond sick of these freaking on social media who do this on a regular basis and get away with it. We have people getting canceled on social media for the stupidest things, for silly things, actually doing good sometimes. And then we have people that lie about other people, that call names and call them out as certain types of people, and they don't get canceled. It's ridiculous. So I made the following statement on social media concerning Deion Sanders. So this was going to be one of my bowl observations. Okay. I did not watch the game between North Carolina Central and Deion Sanders' team, Jackson State. Has nothing to do with whether I watched the game. It was simply a statement that I made that if I was in charge of a school, I would first take the temperature of the football team. The football team, those players in the locker room, they put it out on the line. It's their team. Ultimately, it's their team. And if their coach leaves the team, I would go talk to them. If I was an administrator, I was the head of the school, I was the athletic director, I would go talk to the football team and say, do you want this man coaching your team? You've got one last chance to play for him. He's leaving. He's going to this other school. It could be under good conditions. It could be under not so good conditions. I'm not there at Jackson State internally to know what the deal is. Doesn't matter. I would ask the football players themselves. But if it were up to me, so out of respect, I would defer to them. But if it were up to me, if I was in charge, I would say, you chose to leave for another job. See ya. Go coach that other team. Go work with them. You've been there for the last few weeks recruiting and working with those players. You've already started to coach there. I don't want you coaching my team. But again, I would defer to the student athletes because it's ultimately their team. They're the players. So I would allow them to say, hey, we love our coach, and even though he's moving on, we want him to coach us. So I would say, you know what? Great. It's your team. I defer to you. But otherwise, you no longer, in the famous words of Bo Schembechler, way back when in the NCAA tournament, when he was AD at Michigan, Bill Frieder leaves for Arizona State. Hey, you're not coaching us for the NCAA tournament. I'm not having an Arizona State coach the Michigan Wolverines basketball team. Get out of here. Bye. I simply stated that. And of course, it was turned out and turned around and twisted to be, you can imagine what, because of Deion Sanders' race and color. How pathetic and ridiculous these people are. It is disgusting to me what people do now on social media. And I've placed myself in this position of being attacked on a regular basis. And it's, again, attack my football knowledge, tell me I don't know what I'm talking about, but do not attack my character unjustly. It's disgusting. All right. Some of the less important things, but the football fun things, and maybe not so fun things, but regarding bowl play here, a few things I wanted to address. First and foremost, beyond the Deion Sanders situation at Jackson State, and I have no ill will toward Deion Sanders whatsoever. I'm pretty neutral on Deion Sanders. He's one of the greatest players of all time in both college football and the NFL. But I'm not a fan of Deion Sanders, nor am I a critic of Deion Sanders. He says God has called him. He called him to Jackson State a few years ago. Now he's called him to go to the University of Colorado. It is my experience, my own life experience. It's also my experience in watching others. It's also my experience from reading various passages from the Bible and biblical stories that typically when God calls people, there's a leap of faith that's needed because there's great risk, hardship, adversity. I don't necessarily see this in play in this particular case. But again, I'm not in between the relationship of Deion Sanders and God. That's for him to tell us and for him to account for. All right, Bryce Young and Will Anderson playing for Alabama, I think, is a tremendous statement for Nick Saban and this Alabama football program. A couple years ago, when Alabama missed the playoffs in 2019 and was assigned a Citrus Bowl game against Michigan, there were a couple players that opted out. I believe 2 players out of 10 or 12 that were high caliber NFL draft selections. And so they could have had a mass exodus, and those players participated in the Citrus Bowl. So this is, again, another example of Nick Saban and the culture that he's built. Some people, just based on 2 losses on the last play of the game and some poor performances against the likes of Texas A&M with a backup quarterback, not Bryce Young on the field, have criticized Nick Saban and his program for some type of downgrade. I don't necessarily see it. I think Kirby Smart's doing an amazing job at Georgia, and there's nothing wrong with what's going on at Alabama. Is it vintage Alabama? Well, that vintage level may be the greatest in the history of the game. So that's a high bar to climb and to surpass. So the team culture, the respect, the brotherhood, which I think is very overstated in sports locker rooms. But in this case, the proof is right there. They're playing for their coach. Will Anderson, Bryce Young, and others who are opting for the NFL once they play Kansas State in the Sugar Bowl. So that's a great testimony to Nick Saban and the culture he has built there. Also, when it does come to opt-outs, I've got a few recommendations. First and foremost, these student athletes are under scholarship. So they receive a scholarship. So in exchange for free education, which is huge, free education is enormous. Anybody who is paid for an education knows this. Free education, room, board, free travel, the training table, the workout facilities, and again, the nutrition and the quality of food is first rate. So the value placed on the education and all the benefits that come from that is exorbitant. Okay. In exchange for their football ability, their talent, their time, they put in a ton of time. It's like a full-time job. Okay, well, let's understand a scholarship is also a contract. It's the same thing. So it should be stated in the scholarship/contract that your scholarship is based on your participation in this sport. So in this case, football. And the completion of the football season is at the end of the season. So if we qualify for postseason play, then that bowl game is part of our season. It counts just like every other game. So those teams, for example, that are 6-6 and win a bowl game to go to 7-6 For regardless of how many people like to detract and take away from the meaning of these bowl games, they count just as much as the biggest game of the season in the win-loss standings. They count exactly the same. Therefore, it should be stated in the scholarship/contract that you must participate all the way through the end of our season. Or we do live in America and people can make choices and they do have options. So you can quit if you'd like. However, you would have to pay back a substantial portion of your payment, of the value of your scholarship. What that would be, it could be prorated in some way, but they would have to pay back, if they do not participate in a bowl, would have to pay back the scholarship portion. Okay. Also, as an incentive, consider that with all the TV money that comes in on these bowl games, and understand, and I'll deal with this in just a second, that the bowl games are more valuable than many critics believe, that we also have sponsorship money. So these bowl games actually generate more money than regular season games because in addition to the ad revenue from television and the money that ESPN and Fox charge you and I for cable subscriptions, you also have, in addition to that, the sponsorship money. So the $8 million that is paid to the bowl for the sponsorship of the bowl, a portion of that money should go to the players as an incentive to have them participate in the game and not opt out. All right, let's get to these bowls. Are they meaningless? Are they meaningful? Well, that's up to you. That is up to you as the consumer. Some of you love the bowl games. Some of you are sick of the bowl games or think there are too many bowl games. Well, the reason that more bowl games are added is because they make money. Let's all understand as we work through these issues and these situations and these various topics in college football is that they all go back to money. So it is stated to me during our call-in shows many times, why are there so many bowl games? Why did they add more bowl games? Well, they just didn't add them thinking that, well, these teams deserve it. We're going to add more because at one time, as we all know, that have been watching college football for a long time, that during the 11-game season, you had to have at least a 6-5 record, a winning record to be eligible for bowl play. Well, they then increased the regular season to 12 games, so then that went to a 6-6 record, and then simple math dictated that we now have a few under 500 teams like Rice this season at 5-7 participate in bowl games because you've got 131 teams, you've got 82 bowl slots, 41 bowls, 82 spots. Simple math tells us that you're going to have to extend invitations to losing record teams. Okay, do they deserve to be in a bowl game? I completely understand the argument that some of you have that you only want successful teams, and whatever you deem that to be, 8-4, 7-5, 9-3, whatever that is, successful teams to play in postseason play. I get that. It's a valid point. However, more bowl games are added and have been added because they make money. So if a sponsor or a group of investors can get together, get a sponsor, get a deal with ESPN and put together a bowl game, it doesn't matter that it's a 42nd bowl game or 43rd bowl game or in the future 44th bowl game. And we may be able or have to be forced to invite a 5-7 team. No, that's not the consideration. The consideration is, can we make money? And the answer is emphatically yes, 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 yes. And when a bowl game goes defunct, that means that most likely they were no longer making money, could not get a sponsor, i.e. could not get a sponsor. All right, let's also understand that the empty seats that we see at the bowl games have nothing to do with the success of the bowl game. Sure, the bigger bowl games are going to draw larger crowds at the stadium, obviously. However, let's understand that, for example, we saw a bowl game this weekend where Cincinnati and Louisville played in Boston. Okay, when there's nobody at the game, and I don't know what the attendance looked like, it appeared to be like 10,000 people at the game, something in that range, let's say 10 or 15,000 people at a football game. Obviously, we're used to seeing large crowds at the games during the regular season for teams from the ACC and the American Conference. Okay, if they were playing in the regular season, they'd be playing at one of those home sites, either in Cincinnati or Louisville, which are only 100 miles apart. So obviously, people from the area are invested and fans of those teams. Therefore, they travel to the games because it's a short drive. When two teams travel thousands of miles away to go to a bowl site, obviously no one in the area are fans of those two teams. Therefore, nobody's going to show up at the game. When you have a team from the Midwest and a team from the South go all the way to the West Coast to play a bowl game, how many people are going to travel that far? So the number of people in the stadium is not indicative to how popular the game is. People have to travel thousands of miles to get to the game as opposed to the game being right there on campus during the regular season. Therefore, the people that are most interested in that game just have to go to the game. For example, Oregon State and Florida play in Las Vegas. Well, if that game was a regular season game, it'd be played in Corvallis or Gainesville, Florida. People from that community and from that campus would flock to the game and fill the stadium. But they're playing in Las Vegas. They are thousands and thousands and thousands of miles away from both campuses. Therefore, there's only so many people that are going to spend that kind of money to travel to go to the game. Therefore, and there's only so many people in that community in Las Vegas that are interested in Florida football or Oregon State football or to go see a college football game and spend the money. Therefore, you're going to have a small attended game. It's just like NCAA tournament first round games. Watch the NCAA basketball tournament. Look at the first round games. How many people are in the arena? Not many, because you have two teams playing from a long distance away typically. Therefore, nobody's interested in the game there. Who are the people interested in the game? They're watching on television. That's what matters. The gate is a minuscule portion of the revenue brought in by the schools, the conferences, and the television network. That's minuscule, the number of people in the stands, the ticket price, the concessions, minuscule. The money is made by the sponsorship and more so by TV. That's what matters, folks. Forget about looking at the stadiums and determining how meaningful these games are by how many people are in the stadium. Okay, let's be business smart. All right, that's pretty much it. That's all I got for you. The ratings for these bowl games are exceptional. It is too early in the bowl season to get the TV ratings for this season. However, I looked at last season, and they were up substantially from 17 to 35%. The bowl games from 2021 from 2017 through 2020. So we can't even blame COVID for being a down year and therefore a comparatively good year for 2021 because the bowl games, for as many critics out there say the bowl games are defunct and they are meaningless and nobody's watching them, more people watched bowl games in 2021 than the previous 5 seasons of bowl games. So there you go. We tell the truth right here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you being here, and we will see you next time.